What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your daily creative reading for, I almost said February. Nope. Maybe February 5th will be important. I don't know. But this is for September 5th. So for those who celebrate, happy Labor Day. Thank a union organizer. That's what kind of gave us our working week. So happy Labor Day for those who are celebrating in North America. Okay, let's dive in though. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives? Okay, so this says with love. Okay, and then we'll pull one more for the end. I can feel fall in the air. I went for a walk today, so I'm recording this on Sunday, and I went for a walk this afternoon. And the woods already smell like fall, and it's just such a delight. I'll take the one from the top. Thank you, Spirit. Okay. Now, do you want to smell? Okay. Wait, I'll let you clear this deck here. Why don't you do this one for me? Can you do that one, please? Oh, thank you. Okay. It's gotten the Queen's, sniff of approval. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives for September? Oh, I was going to read this. Oh my goodness. I'm all out of sorts here because I keep looking at this adorable little face. Yes. Okay. Dearest you, did you know that when you stop fighting and accept everything exactly as it is right now, miracles start to happen? There's a freedom in this kind of radical acceptance. Let go of unrealistic expectations and see things as they really are, not how you'd like them to be. You'll be surprised at how everything seems to fall into place. When you refuse to accept things, life gets messy, you act messy, and your world stays in chaos, tension, and disarray. But don't try to force a change or manipulate circumstances. Instead, learn about what is in front of you and face it with your eyes fully open. Then you can decide to stay or go, sink or swim, move or stay still. Acceptance is the key to freedom and opens the door to the real opportunities waiting to be discovered. Set yourself and others free. Loving you so much, always and forever. Really like that. Okay, let's do this here. Eva dislikes the... Oh, I said your name. I know, baby girl. See, that's you. So cute. She dislikes the shuffling sound, but she loves to clear the decks. Like, because it gives her some face scritches. Yes. What? So we're starting with the Queen of Pentacles as part of this call to adventure. A little bit of self-love and nurturing. That's what I'm hearing. Well, specifically, I was hearing the song Little Bit of Love by J.P. Cooper, I think his name is. And we have the Four of Pentacles. But it came out, you know what, that feels like it's like not holding back anymore. And not like in an unloading sense, but maybe unloading in terms of putting things down that kind of kept you from caring for yourself. Illusions you had, because sometimes we can be like, I'm doing self-care, and you get like this super duper sweet pumpkin spice latte or something like that. I'm not a big fan of those. Mine is the chestnut praline latte. I get it once every Christmas season, and oh my goodness, it's like so good. Anyways, but like doing those things, we can say that that's self-care, when what we actually have to be doing is like pulling up by the root the things that do not work in our lives. I've been going through this, so I've been going through this myself. So just looking at different patterns and the ways that we build systems for ourselves, or the ways that we borrow thoughts about systems, right? It's sort of going back to basics. Back to basics lately. Yeah, that's kind of what this feels like, this energy here. It's like back to basics, right? Six of Swords, Three of Swords, Five of Cups. Like what it is that makes you go back to basics, right? Like you're leaving a situation or something. It could be thought patterns, right? You're leaving thought patterns that were really harmful to you, that left you feeling disappointed and a little bit empty, right? Like that's that And that's not to say like because that's something that I'm experiencing that everyone's going through that, because that's not how that works. But this is just to say that like there's, I think, and the fall, like September's always seem, and also for those going back to school this week or who have kiddos that are going back, happy go back to school week. But this always feels like a better reset for the year. Like the fall always seems like it's just my favorite time of year, because it like leading that and Christmas. Not so much my birthday month, like I like that too, but it's more so just the fall and Christmas, and it's like that crispness in the air and this sort of opportunity to reset with the change of a season, right? Interesting. So we have the Knight of Wands. I feel like there's something here that this sort of pullback, because I think it was last week, it was like step back to move forward. So I almost feel like this is like possibly the moving forward, but it's like what you're leaving behind is like this sense of not really knowing where you are. Like I almost get this often comes up with that card, but the movie, the Rise of the Guardians, Jack Frost, when he becomes a guardian, he is underwater at first when he becomes, and the moon speaks to him, right? The man in the moon, or the person in the moon, whatever. But it's like being spoken to by this fundamental element, and then it's like you rise from there. The Knight of Wands. But I feel like there's this forward movement here. It could also, letting your passions run away with you could kind of become a tower if it goes unchecked, just because I feel a bit like this is, what could become a tower about this is maybe oversights. There's like when you're that passionate, it's such a good thing, but and not overthinking. I'm an Aquarian in so many different places in my chart, so that's like a gift. That is the gift I bring unto ye. But I think this is like the possibility of oversights where more detail needs to be had. The wheel on the bottom, so I feel like there's expansion here. Wow, and the Emperor energy too with the King of Wands. Dang, that is a ton of fire. Grounded, that's King of Pentacles on the bottom. I feel like with the abundance of King energy here, the antagonist, I think, is releasing a little control. And that's especially true of the protagonist being the wheel here for the day. There might be a need to release some control. It sounds so general. If we're thinking in specifics where this is concerned, it could be that there's like this release, like there's this letting go and an uncertainty about how that is going to be received, or an uncertainty about how you will be perceived. Because there was a lot of swords energy that we had, that 3 of swords and that 6 of swords, right? When there was the 3 cards on the split. It could be the perceptions of others, but it almost feels like you're kind of coming back down. Like, why is that song playing? When You Come Back Down, I think it's like Nickel Creek or something. When You Come Back Down. And now I'm hearing Drops of Jupiter, because there's a similar line in there by Train. So what I'm seeing here is there's a release, but it's like there's something that you're nurturing. I'm just going to clarify this. Let me put the rest of the cards out, and then I'll start to clarify, because I'm very okay now. I'm not one to question spirit. Okay. Can you clarify this 4 of Pentacles? Typically, the 4 of Pentacles is like the holding on, but I feel like this is like a gentle releasing. I don't think it's something that was huge. It doesn't feel very significant. I feel like it's like there's something that you come to understand. It's like this very grounded, intuitive, it's like discernment. That's how I see a lot of earth intuition. It's discernment. So it's like this discernment, and you're able to let go of maybe an illusion that you had about something. Could have been your own perception of yourself, right? Or the perception of heartbreak. A Course in Miracles talks about how it's not really, A Course in Miracles talks a lot about how forgiveness is just sort of the understanding that nothing bad happened in the first place, like in the way that we perceived it. That's the Coles notes. But Yeah, it's like a healing of that. The healing of how many, like the perception of how many, proverbial cooks were in the kitchen at that time about a specific issue. So maybe that's what this is releasing. Whatever it is, it's like an investment, like a reinvestment, an energy of reinvestment. Okay. Yeah, I feel like this is like, so clarifying the Four of Pentacles in reverse is the Four of Pentacles upright. Good. I feel like you're seeing where you were holding back on something related to self-care, self-nurturing, but I also feel like this is allowing you to be more compassionate and discerning of how you invest your energy. I feel like both of these cards here tells me that it's almost like a perspective that's correcting. Like you're correcting the perspective that you held about something. In perspective, again, just because the swords were there before and justice is on the bottom. Yeah, there's definitely like this sort of correction, course correction I'm hearing as well. Page of Swords on the moon. You might have been looking for information about this, but the information isn't going to come from, like a search that you undertake. I feel like I'm seeing an Ace of Cups. This is more so something that is like coming to you. This is like spirit inviting. I'm hearing invocation as well. I can't think of a better word to describe fall and autumn, if that's how you want to word it, but just an invocation. Yeah, but I feel like that's almost like what this is. Like there's information that you were seeking and you were holding on because you maybe felt like you didn't have enough, but you had it in you the whole time in this Queen of Pentacles energy. But I feel like you might have needed to let go a little more because there was this kind of dreamy moon energy that could have presented some different illusions about your own. I'm hearing personal power because of the Aries and King of Wands energy here. But I feel like this could become a tower with the oversight. It's like if you're not seeing yourself clearly and moving forward, that's where this could become a tower, because then it turns you into the Knight of Wands as opposed to the things that you're working on using the energy of the Knight of Wands. So and there's a distinction that I'm picking up on intuitively here where it's like you get into this energy of being it's like the knights are journey energy. So they're going from point A to point B or point A to point whatever, right? But it's a journeying card, right? So it's not one that can really establish itself in the context 1212, which is on the time. That can establish itself in the context of things happening or existing the way that you might want them to, because I see establishment energy here. Queen of Pentacles, King of Wands, Emperor, all cards of like well-established roots, right? So I think that could become the tower if that's something that you want to be a priority. So if you're looking for work, for example, bouncing from project to project or idea to idea can be really helpful because you're kind of sampling things and getting an idea. But if what you're actually wanting is to plant roots somewhere, if what you're wanting is actually to develop something, it's not the energy that you want to be in, right? It is a useful pace though, so that's where it can become slightly different. So it's like you're seeing something more clearly here, and the protagonist energy is this expansion. This is, to me, it's like destiny, opportunity, fate, right? But I'm hearing doors opening, windows opening. This also strikes me as like the change of season. Like when I saw windows opening, I saw like sheer curtains blowing in a really cool breeze. Here in Southern Ontario, we had this beautiful cool down throughout the day. So I think it was like around 16 or 17 degrees when I went on my hike. That's Celsius, but not Fahrenheit, by the way. But it was just lovely. And I feel like that's sort of that like fresh breeze energy. Like there's something that's being given new life. It's like a breath of fresh air. Whatever that is something I feel like that's how you will know that the hand of fate is at play, is what I'm hearing, or the hands of fate. And the antagonist position is interestingly showing up with a lot of this fire energy. A lot of fire energy. So the Emperor and the King of Wands, I don't think the antagonist energy is because there's anything particularly antagonistic about this energy, but I am getting the sense that there's a lot of fire. And I think maybe you needed to be in this Queen of Pentacles place where you were taking care of yourself so that you could channel that into something really grounded, so that you could channel that into something really helpful to you that wouldn't burn you up, right? And I think you knew this with this Four of Pentacles where you were kind of holding back a little bit. The Knight of Wands is telling me something a little bit about the fact that there's this, like, it's like there's a giddy up in your saddle, so to speak. Let me just clarify this here with this Emperor and King of Wands. I feel like for this to be the antagonist energy, it's also an energy that you may be underutilizing within yourself. Like it may be, we have oversight and underutilization. So, or like the risk of oversight at least. And it's like if you're underutilizing your fire, it can also become an oversight because you're not seeing yourself clearly. You're not expressing yourself in your fullest depths. So King of Swords, there's the fresh air. So I think this is really just about seeing, it's like seeing yourself clearly with Aries here. There's the Emperor energy, which is that like first house, kind of personal, I, me, myself, that kind of thing. So it's like seeing yourself clearly. Could be some kind of boss energy as well, in terms of entrepreneur or, literal manager, that kind of idea, how you're managing yourself, how you're managing your ideas. But I think this is also about how you're managing your creativity and how you're managing a little bit of your thoughts about that, right? How you analyze yourself in the context of all of these things that you might be wanting to create in the world, right? That you want to create in the world. Yeah, no kidding. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, so on the bottom was the Magician, the Strength card, and the Ace of Wands. Fire, fire, more fire. Like then you have like butane on the open flame, the Magician with Gemini, right? Like that Mercury energy that's just whoosh. So I feel like there is something. It's interesting that this is all showing up in the antagonist energy, and I think it's just because it's stuff that you're not seeing within yourself, right? The Empress, the Ace of Wands, the Strength card, the Magician. These are all energies that you had to cultivate within you, okay? This Queen of Pentacles energy. Because that's like you had to cultivate it and pull back from whatever it was that you were involved in before. Like you see the community here. So you almost had to pull back into this sort of more solitary energy and reassess. I'm hearing reassess what you were seeing, what you weren't seeing, that kind of idea before you could then come back to this. But I feel like that was part of this sort of fated operation of things. And I think under the surface, this is going to be a really rich time for you. I want to say prosperous. There's not a lot of pentacles here, but this is the energy that brings about many of them, right? And the Empress is also, I think, some pentacle energy because it kind of encompasses all the queens. But we also have counterpart energy here too. So I think under the surface, this is maybe coming into union with yourself. 1717 was just on the time. In terms of Emperor and Empress energy, right? But this could also be, finding, a relationship or person on the path that meets you in this. But I feel like it had to come out first. Like that's where it's like this King of Swords is the awareness. And it's like the awareness of all of these things operating under the surface. Inspired ideas, confidence to execute on them, knowing exactly how to put things into place, what tools to use to get you from point A to point B, and really not stressing as much over the details, right? Because there's this sort of sense of clarity that you have from knowing where things need to be and where you need to be as part of that, because there's a bigger energy at work here, but you recognize this. So let's see here what the main challenge for the day is. Let's see what the main challenge for the day is. The world. I think the main challenge. Whoa, what it was just on the split? Yeah, the Ace of Pentacles. So it was the Ace of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords. I think I saw the Ten of Swords though, so I'm inclined to say the world represents the main challenge is closing the door on the past, not out of anger or upset, but because there's something new that's coming in, and out of respect, I'm hearing out of respect for yourself and the work that you've done, you really have to put an end to this, right? It's not about ending, people or anything like that. To use an example, Ten of Swords is a perception card, right? So I've been rereading You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, and I've been really it's so interesting how we can, at different times in our lives, these teachings, we will apply them, and then we change, and how we use them changes as well. When I was talking to a friend last week about how, because we were talking about just feeling stuck with different things, and one of the things that I told him about, and then I was thinking about on the drive home from his place, is just that like he is really when you're stuck, and this is something that I'm trying to, I don't want to spill anybody's beans, so I'm trying to think of how to tell this story. When you're feeling stuck, so I'll use my example. So with different areas, if you feel stuck, you will be stuck, obviously. But it's a shift in perception. So instead of seeing it as I'm stuck, nothing's changing, nothing's happening, there's obviously, even in tarot, we see this. There's a lot of things happening underneath the surface. So if that's true, and which it is, because life is never stagnant, we feel stagnant, but it's because it's like the tools that you used, for example, in grade 8. Okay, so if you're in grade 8, the studying tools that you made you successful in grade 6 are no longer going to be the things that make you successful in grade 8, right? You're going to have to learn new skills. You're going to have to learn new tools, learn new ways of doing things. And so part of that, you're going to feel stuck, and it might feel like nothing's happening because you're in that phase of starting to see what needs to shift and change. So it's almost like being on the precipice is what I'm hearing. Yeah, being on the precipice of big changes, Death card and Queen of Wands, right? So I feel like that kind of is the energy here in this challenge, especially with the Ten of Swords that came out on the split. Like, it's not about what you're walking away from, but how you're integrating where you are and seeing the gifts of that, as opposed to feeling like you've got to like push against it, right? Like, yeah. Yeah, the Ten of Swords again. This is big. I feel like that's, you know what? I'm putting that down as part of the overcoming. I feel like that's like, it's knowing, it's not so much a walking away, but towards. And I feel like there's this space. It's almost like these animals are, well, the crows or ravens, I guess, are, it's like there's this spaciousness inside of you that allows these thoughts to soar, as opposed to feeling like they were stuck and trapped. Let me just pull one more to clarify from this deck. Okay. I'm hearing spaciousness. That's like the big word for this reading, is spaciousness, making space, clearing space. Yeah, there's like some kind of, this is something there's a sense of success with this, because the overcoming is getting past yourself. And isn't that the hardest battle to overcome? Because it's not about other people. When you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. When you have to look at yourself in the mirror, not have to, you get to, but it's like you look at yourself in the mirror and say, no matter how much, things are not where you would like them to be in different areas, things are still working out. And, saying to yourself, like, I really love you. You're doing a great job. It seems like such 2-2 on the time. It seems like such an obvious thing, but when you get to that place and you are befriending yourself as opposed to pushing against, again, seems so fundamental. But we often get caught up at this pace where we feel very frustrated with ourselves, and yeah, I think, I think that this sort of, I was feeling this sense of frustration because the Seven of Wands popped out in this deck, Six of Swords again. I think it's just leaving behind any feeling of frustration, because I feel like you're understanding, this King of Swords is coming to mind, as is the Page of Swords. There's like some clarity here. And I think the clarity is coming because you're beginning to understand a little bit more about divine timing. I'm seeing like a clock tower at like a train station, like similar to like old school Union Station in Toronto. In downtown Toronto, they had these like clock tower type things, and not clock tower, but it was like in the middle of the station. There used to be this kiosk before they did renovations where the Via Rail trains come in, but they had this one spot where there was a little clock tower, trying to make it look like Grand Central Station. And that's what I'm seeing right now. So it's maybe this is like a juncture, like you're kind of on this journey. I mean, we all are, but I feel a bit like, yeah, it's like this release is bringing in a real sense of stability. And I think, okay, whoa, we're going to move the camera down because Eva's giving herself a bath, and nobody's got time for that right now. I'm sorry. She just put her paws down. Like, she was like, why are you so offended? Anyway, so the Temperance card and the Four of Wands, I feel like to me, this is a sense of balance being restored, but it's like a balance that you cultivated for yourself. Now she's being a total ham. Yes, my darling girl. I know. It's so good being you. I know. I know. Do you want to stretch? Okay. Sorry. Feline intermission. It happens. But the Temperance card in the Four of Wands, this tells me about stability and balance. And I think this is an internal stability, and this is a sense of internal balance. Like there's this restorative, I mean, it's like a restorative capacity that you have right now. And I think that's what you're learning from this. I feel like there's a major cycle coming to an end, if it hasn't ended already. Six of Swords again. Wow. You know what, though? I feel like the Queen of Cups on the bottom is telling me a lot about this. And there's the Ace of Cups. I was feeling this would come out. But it's like this moving closer towards seeing it's like seeing emotional opportunities for what they are. And what does that mean in the context of, the Six of Swords? That tends to be like a not so hot moving away card, right? Like this sort of slow march away from something. But what I'm thinking about here is that it's like instead of being in a vessel and mistaking yourself for floating on the water, it's like you're integrating the water as opposed to thinking about it. And the vessel you're understanding is you, right? So that's how I see this is coming through, is like instead of getting away from something and watching the waves, forgetting that they are within you, it's like you're seeing them as part of you. And I think about water in tarot as representing intuition and emotion, just this depth of emotion, specifically with this Ace of Cups here. Like, I feel like that's what's coming in. Like, you're recognizing this. You're recognizing yourself as the vessel. This is things happening for you, and this is kind of things happening to you. And that's where I see this difference in perception taking place. So it's almost like a miracle, if we're thinking in terms of A Course in Miracles, and correction of perception is really, like, that's what a miracle is. Like, you're seeing things for what it could be and for what it is, as opposed to what it may be and whatnot. Another tool, I'll show it here. I'll just grab it off my bookshelf for 1 second. This book, Louise Hay recommended this author's work years ago, and I got this book, oh my gosh, like in the early 2000s. It's very well read, but Science of Mind. And this is another great resource in terms of changing your thinking and thought patterns. Let me see there. There we go. I don't know if they've changed the cover or the way it looks and whatnot, but excellent book. Very thick, but it also has like, it breaks things down into really great chunks. So that's just a small resource there. But just that shift, I think it's almost like the Six of Swords acting as perception. That's sort of woven through. So it's almost like the journey of you on that vessel through this reading, because it kept coming up and up and up and up. And I feel like this is you becoming the vessel. Isn't that beautiful? Like you're becoming the vessel for love, as opposed to feeling like it's something outside of you that you just get to partake in. And that changes how things operate and how you do as well. There's so much that's already clarified here, so I'm just going to pull 4 cards to clarify. Spirit, can you give me some granular details here to bring this into a more concrete form? Please and thank you for my daily creatives for September 5th. 9 of Wands. Okay. I almost feel uncertainty, I heard, which is not overly shocking. You can put your paw there, my darling. It's okay. It's like she's not really sure. She's like, do I want to touch the card or no? Do you want to clear that deck? So this is sort of like it's like this sense of frustration and kind of hanging on. Look at that 8 of Swords on the bottom too. Hanging on, uncertainty. Things are not so clear. That's how you might feel. The interesting thing about changes like this is that there's no real map, right? There's no real map. And that's what this kind of Six of Swords again. Oh my goodness. It's emotion, like emotion. Yes, emotion. Interesting. This, I almost see this as like this sort of grace, but I also see it as like the unfolding of things that might be beyond your perception right now. You're trying to reach them, but the point is that you can't necessarily, right? The point is that there's, and I feel like there's motion here, and it's so interesting. Like it's like the movement of emotion and the momentum, the Knight of Wands, the pace that you've been taking, right? This is also reflective of Mercury retrograde energy too, right? The Fool. Wow. Man, new beginning, but you're freaking worried about it. You're so worried. And Six of Swords on the bottom again. Wow. There's a lot of worry here. Maybe a little impatience, and that's where the worry's coming from, because you want things to go faster. And to be careful what you wish for is what I just heard, because I feel like things will, but I think the thing is here, things will pick up, but I think that if you're focusing on what's not working, it's going to make this really uncomfortable. Abraham Hicks has a saying that I heard in several of their workshops before. I didn't go to them, but it was just the recordings and stuff that I'd found on YouTube. But it was like, let go or be dragged, right? And I feel like that's really true of this surrender card or surrendering with the Four of Pentacles, both in reverse and then upright. It's like, let go or be dragged. One is really uncomfortable because you're going to get to where you want to go regardless. That's what this tells me here in the protagonist position. So it's really up to you as to whether that happens with ease. And it's not about doing it gracefully, because when we start to impose constructs like doing something gracefully in terms of spiritual awakenings or journeys, we need room to make an unholy mess, right? So it's that kind of idea. It's that kind of idea more so. Was there one that's... No, okay. The Chariot. Yeah, there's forward movement here. There's forward movement, but just, it's, when people say be careful what you wish for, it kind of, it rubs me the wrong way. Because I'm like, no, we should always, be intentional about what you wish for, right? Don't wish unconsciously, but be very intentional, because when it shows up, you don't want to be looking for something else. You don't want to be, saying it's never showing up, even though it's staring you right in the face, right? So it's just about that energy. And I feel like this is sort of an integrated movement forward. This is more of that emotion, because it's Cancerian energy, emotional movement forward, which is really the gift. I feel like that's like the gift in all of this. It really is. And Six of Cups on the bottom. Speaking of gifts, this could be a soul bond. Let me just pull one more for some final energy here. Yeah, the Lovers and the Three of Cups. That's like, to me, that's like gifts. The gifts of friendship, the gifts of connection, relationship, a depth thereof. So, where you may have been kind of aside from things while you were, whatever this journey was or represents to you, it's like there's this rejoining things, rejoicing. Let me pull an affirmation card before I read the postcard to close. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives for September 5th, please? September 5th. This is so loud. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the idea of salvation, atonement and salvation in A Course in Miracles. Atonement is really like, it's, the way it's coming through is like the difference between feeling like you have to atone for sins that are inherent in you, like this badness that you came here containing. And the difference between that and understanding that it's like the correction of your perception of self and what is going on around you in terms of forgiveness. Do look it up though, because it could, render something different for you specifically. Because I know atonement can mean something different to everybody. But that's the way it just came through very loudly. I can do it, and trust. In times of trouble, remember this: who you think you are cannot handle this challenge, but who you really are can and will. That's what I feel like this is here, right? Who, in times of trouble, remember this: who you think you are cannot handle this challenge. That's ego. But who you really are can and will. And that's the difference. It's almost like that's atonement. Like that's like the correction of perception is like remembering that it's not about what your ego tells you or who you are to your ego. Like for ego, for example, I would be, someone that has a specific type of job, that has a specific level of education, that has a specific understanding of X, Y, and Z thing. So it's like it's seeing things very clearly. In seeing yourself. I think that's why the King of Swords is here. Like, in a way, you may be doubting your power. You may be showing up as this King of Wands, forgetting that you have an Emperor within you as well, right? Like, you know, who you think you are cannot handle this challenge, but who you really are can and will. So I think it's about that perception. It's so important. Okay, I'm just going to write down atonement and perception, because I call them Dory days, where it's like one swim around the bowl and everything is new. Yeah. Atonement and salvation. Salvation. Interesting. Salvation was not the word that I was thinking of. But apparently that's what, okay. Atonement and salvation. Very interesting. Very loaded religious words. This is a very, anyways, theological day, theosophical. Celebrate life. Dear you, there are times in life when taking a risk is better left for another day. Other times are perfect for taking that leap, no matter how dangerous it might seem. Well, hold onto your parachute strings, for today is leap time. Realize that no matter what, we will not let you fall, drown, get lost, or hurt yourself in any way on this one. Even if it may feel like you're in a free fall, we are here for you, and you can stop freaking out about getting hurt and relax into this transition into something new. All the elements are in place. I feel like that's Mercury. All the elements are in place and your soul is ready for a new experience. No matter what you're asking about, it's time to take the risk and do that thing that scares you. No matter what happens, you will land softly right on target. Don't worry about the outcome. Spirit's got that covered. It's taking the leap itself that's the point. Yeah. It's taking the leap itself. Yeah, it's like the atonement leap. The atonement leap. Isn't that interesting? That I'm writing down. Holy crap. That's so fascinating to me. I don't know if this is relevant to anyone, but the philosopher, I'm probably going to butcher the name, Baudrillard. B-A-U-C-H. I think it's B-A... The Poetics of Space is the book that's coming to mind. And I don't know why, so... fancy that and enjoy it. But yeah, so this is your reading. There's a lot happening, but I feel like there's this beautiful internal process. This could almost capture the kickoff of Mercury retrograde, where it's this sort of inward facing reflection of like, how are you communicating with yourself? How are you communicating your value, to others behaviorally, but also how you are communicating it through behaviors, like these grounded things, like what does discernment amount to and how does it resonate within us? How do we discern, right? Through a lot of behaviors. It's like discernment practices. Like, how do you discern? How do I word this, Spirit? The way that you discern energies of and from and around others are the same cues that you need to use towards yourself when you're rebuilding patterns, when you're rebuilding habits, when you're putting new things into play, all of that. So, yeah. And my little assistant here is very much, I don't know if it'll point upwards. Just because, like, you can never get enough of this little fur ball, right? You just can't. You just can't. I hope that you have a wonderful day ahead of you, my friends. And I hope that if this resonated, please give it a like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel if you're not already. But my friends, if this is where we part, I hope that wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope that it finds you very, very well, my darlings. Take care.